Okay, so while we were contacting the electronic workers, we also organized other workers in that area, and some of the workers we organized were nurses in private hospitals, and Deva Lourdes was a nurse in a private hospital in PJ. Later we will speak to Tracy, who was also a nurse in a private hospital. So they actually formed our first Sahabat Wanita Executive Committee, Tracy, Deva, and one electronics worker, Stella, and others I can't remember now. So we began the formal process of applying for registration. We put in our application in 1982, and it was only approved in 1984, and that 2 years we were called very often to the Registrar of Societies, and they asked a lot of questions about who we were, who we talked to, how did you get the idea of this society, why don't you just join WAO? They were very keen on us working with WAO. And they kept on saying these things. You don't need to start another organization. But we said, no, we want to start an organization for women in the lower income. Our focus is on that, and therefore we want a separate organization. So that was how we began the legal formation of Sahabat Wanita.
I came to know Irene, then she was organizing women workers, and one day they just came to my place. We had a talk about workplace, about what's going on in Asunta, because I work in a hospital, and then we were telling about some problem we are facing in the trade union. We were in the union, and that time we were not so we did not know the law and what's the rights of the women, so we used to have a lot of problem with the president and all the stuff. So then at last we have to, some of the things we have learned a lot from Sahabat Wanita, because they had talked about women's rights and the legal law thing. Then we brought some of the trade unionists to Sahabat Wanita to learn, to teach us how to run the union and things like that. And at time it was a very hard struggle, because I have a family problem. My parents was not very keen to send us to get involved in the trade union. In the end, we brought some leaders, and then we trained them up, and I also was part of the committee, and we had a lot of problem in even hospital. The hospital started penalizing us, and Tracy also had a hard time. She's also with the trade union and all the stuff. Then from that, we brought a lot of women workers to the Sahabat Wanita, and they came to know, and they were very happy to learn new things and the rights of the women and things like that. And prior to this, I was working in electronics, which I also had a lot of problem. I left the electronics because I fought with the supervisor, because he was not very happy with me, because I used to question him a lot about the workload, and sometimes even hospitalized, even if we are not well, you have to go to a hospital. He refused to send us, because we are entitled for the clinic rights and things like that. And I have to fight until they asked me either I have to apologize to the supervisor. I said no. I left the company. Then only I joined Asunta. When I joined Asunta Hospital, the trade union became much better, in the sense they have learned a lot of things, and they were starting fighting with the personal manager, and then we have a lot of meetings. And even one of my friends has been thrown out of job because she asked certain rights during the meeting and all that stuff, and they penalize her that she doesn't have the qualification for the job, and they have to even dismiss her because of that. And then we brought this case to Sahabat Wanita, and Irene took us to a lawyer, and then we settled this matter. And at last the girl left, and she went overseas to start back her life there. To organize women even in the hospital was not an easy thing. They are so scared the police will catch them. And when they were so frightened of the management, this side the family, it was been a lot of struggle. We had to bring a group of people for a meeting, you know. It was a very difficult time we had in this matter. Today they will turn up for one meeting, after that they never want to come. They're so scared that we are working very illegally, things, you know, they don't even want to know their rights of the women. And even in the hospital, we also been exploited. Even the doctors, certain places we are not supposed to enter without, you know, there's a coverage. You know, sometimes they never tell us. You know, sometimes we have isolation case, which we are not supposed to go in, and we have to have proper government. Even that they have closed an eye and did things, you know. And a lot of women doesn't seem to know. Even the nurses himself feel, because they need a job, so they were so scared to tell anything, so they carry on things like that. That's how I sometimes brought, even Mano was one of our staff in the hospital, which I brought her into Sahabat Wanita, and she full time worked in the women's organization.